Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. We're so excited that you're here with us for the launch of All Power to the People, Pan-African Artist Pledge. This is a collaborative Pan-African artivism campaign between Africans Rising, the Africa Just Transition Network, and the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty Initiative. We're super excited that you've joined us today, and we would really love to know more about you. So please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat, where you're joining us from, and any collectives, organizations, or movements that you're a part of, and any artistic mediums that you use to create. And just a reminder that we're recording the session today to be able to share it with folks that couldn't make it. My name is Sabla Samuel, and I'm the head of Africa Campaigns and Advocacy for the Fossil Fuel Treaty Initiative. I'm based in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and I'll be moderating the session with all of you today. We have interpretation available to French, Portuguese, and Arabic. So if you can please click on the interpretation icon at the bottom of the screen for your language of choice. And there was no option for an Arabic icon. So if you need translation to Arabic, please select Japanese. I assure you, I promise you it is to Arabic. We're really lucky to be joined today by incredible artists and activists and movement builders who understand profoundly and through action that art is a necessary part of our activism and a fundamental part of how we envision and build new worlds. So as we envision this new future for our continent, free from fossil fuels, with renewable energy in the hands of the people, and energy poverty a thing of the past, art is essential to move us to imagine these new worlds and make them possible. So we wanted to thank the incredible Diana Jaita, who has created the powerful illustrations that you see now and that you'll continue to see throughout this session. And today we're going to be guided by the incredible polymath artist and futures thinker, Pierre-Christophe Gamme, on what these futures could look like and feel like. But before we get there, I will just share a little bit more about All Power to the People, and you will hear from movement builders and coordinators from the different organizations collaborating on this artivism campaign. So I'll take a moment to introduce you to our incredible speakers now, and then we can get started. And please feel free to put any questions that you have that come up directly in the chat. So today, we're super lucky to have with us, as I mentioned, the celebrated polymath artist and futures thinker, Pierre-Christophe Gamme. We have Marina Agotimevo from the Africa Just Transition Network. She's the coordinator. And Ansel Langwa, who is the movement building and support lead officer at Africans Rising. Thank you all so much for being here. And welcome to the launch of All Power to the People. We're so thrilled you're here. All Power to the People Pan-Africans Pledge is a collaborative artivism movement grounded in 6 collective demands to reshape our continent and move from toxic fossil fuel dependency to propel a people-powered and justice-based renewable energy transition. And it's a collab, as I mentioned, between Africans Rising, the Africa Just Transition Network, and the Fossil Fuel Treaty Initiative. And we are inspired by the namesake and spirit of the Black Power movement. We play with the meaning of power as energy and power as people power to really build our collective movements and our right to energy justice and sovereignty across Africa. And so we invite multidisciplinary artists to join this growing pledge to demand justice for our continent. The campaign itself is grounded in 6 collective demands that we will dig into deeper, but as a highlight, they are an end to coal, oil, and gas exploration and expansion, a fair phase out of existing fossil fuel infrastructure, funding for a fair and fast transition to a people-centered, renewable-powered future grounded in justice, an end to energy poverty, and the delivery of 100% clean, renewable energy access for all, climate reparations and ecological remediation for all communities and ecosystems pillaged by fossil fuel extraction, and to endorse the call for a fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty. And we've made these collective demands because fossil fuels, coal, oil, and gas, have spelled disaster for our continent. They've fueled violent conflicts, militarized territories, led to ecological pillaging, debt crises, human rights violations, legacies of oil spills that lead to underdevelopment, energy poverty, contaminated waterways, choking air pollution, rare diseases, and injustice. So we've really seen that the pursuit of universal energy access through fossil fuel expansion has been a dangerously profitable fallacy. Africa is home to 600 million people living without electricity access and nearly 1 billion people that inhale toxic fumes every single day from a lack of clean cooking, making our continent the biggest energy poverty hotspot on Earth. And despite this, our politicians still tout fossil fuels as synonymous with development. And in our polarized society, when we fight against coal, oil, and gas in our territories, we are called anti-development or anti-progress. Next slide, please. We know that a different future is possible for our continent, and the voices and the movements and the sounds and power of artists across our continent and the diaspora are essential to get there. Africa is endowed with more renewable energy potential than anywhere else on Earth, and has the potential to meet the continent's energy needs hundreds of times over and become a renewable energy powerhouse for the continent and the world. And we need artists to make these collective demands a reality. So in the words of African-American writer and filmmaker and social activist Tonika de Bambara, the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. And we are in urgent need of an energy revolution that shifts power from corporate elites to the hands of the people, that delivers dignified energy access to everyone across our continent, and that moves from the chokehold of fossil-fueled energy apartheid to a cooperative, decentralized, and equitable renewable energy future. Next slide, please. Our continent has been carved up for oil pipelines, gas terminals, and coal mines. The majority of the companies pillaging our continent are headquartered outside of Africa, and the majority of the fossil fuels extracted are destined for export. While our territories and communities are being exploited, the wealth and the energy is being shipped abroad. So we call for an end to fossil fuel pillaging across our continent that has driven violent conflicts and militarized territories, poisoned ecosystems, led to human rights violations, and left our communities destitute while companies rake in record profits. We are not sacrifice zones, and we demand an end to new coal, oil, and gas exploration and expansion. The next slide, please. Our second collective demand is to fairly phase out existing fossil fuel infrastructure. Wealthy Western nations have dangerously exploited the planetary boundaries that keep our Earth in balance. So we call for a fair phase out of existing fossil fuel infrastructure, with the world's wealthiest nations who have driven the climate crisis phasing out their fossil fuel extraction first and fastest, while providing fair finance and technology transfers for fossil fuel dependent developing nations. Next slide, please. As I've said before, Africa sits atop the highest renewable energy potential on Earth, nearly 40% of the world's global share and 60% of the world's best solar resources, yet we have received only 2% of renewable energy investments in the last 2 decades. We envision a cooperative owned and publicly owned distributed renewable future for our continent. We call for funding for a fair and fast transition to a people-centered, renewable-powered future grounded in justice. Next slide, please. The next demand is to end energy poverty and deliver 100% clean, renewable energy access for all. Sub-Saharan Africa is a global energy poverty hotspot. We are home to over 80% of the world's unelectrified population. We are the only region on Earth where the population living without electricity access has grown since the turn of the millennium. 600 million people in Africa live in the dark, and nearly 1 billion inhale toxic fumes every day, as I said before, from a lack of clean cooking. It's a hypocrisy to be sitting atop the most renewable energy potential globally from the sun, wind, and water, and be living in energy poverty. So this collective demand calls for an end to energy poverty and 100% clean, renewable energy access for all to power our development aspirations, our education, our healthcare, and housing for our people. Next slide, please. Legacies of the fossil fuel industry still wreak havoc to this day. For example, in the Niger Delta, the life expectancy is 41 years. This is 10 years lower than the national average. And this is from Shell's toxic legacies of oil spills that have polluted life-giving waterways and left violence and disease in its wake. So our collective demand calls for climate reparations and ecological remediation for all communities and ecosystems pillaged by fossil fuel extraction. And next slide, please. The final demand is to endorse the call for a fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty. Global fossil fuel expansion is rising unchecked because there is currently no binding international instrument to rein in coal, oil, and gas expansion. Countries are actually on track to extract 110% more fossil fuels by 2030 compared to our climate targets. Our collective demand calls for support of the Fossil Fuel Treaty Initiative, which is a proposed international mechanism to halt new fossil fuel expansion, fairly phase out existing coal, oil, and gas projects, and deliver a funded, just transition to an equitable, renewable future. Global momentum for a fossil fuel treaty is growing every day, with support from over 1 million people, thousands of organizations, hundreds of cities and subnational governments, including across Africa, and 17 global South nation states, and it's time for African nations to join too. Next slide, please. To help make these collective demands a reality, we need you, we need artists, because art is indispensable for this transformation to occur, to move people to reach their hearts, to imagine new worlds beyond this one and bring them to life. We wholeheartedly believe in art as a necessary element of our lives and of our activism, and the topic of fossil fuels can incite really divisive feelings and standstills, and art is necessary to navigate these divides, expose and collectively tell the truths alongside frontline communities and build resistance and create narratives that reimagine and build different futures. Next slide, please. So the call for art submissions is open from today. And in these submissions, we invite you to imagine what Africa looks like and feels like if the 6 collective demands of all power to the people came to life. No more fossil fuel exploitation. Our ecosystems have been remediated. Our communities have received reparations. Everyone has access to electricity and renewable energy, and power is in the hands of the people. What would this Africa look and feel like? You can make your submissions directly at our website, which is allpowertothepeople.art. We'll share the link with you. The submission period is open from today until August 20th, and selected artworks, which will be selected by the artist Pierre-Christophe Gamme, who will guide you shortly in this dreaming and visioning practice, will be featured at Studio 11 Gallery in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, the host city for the upcoming Africa Climate Week and Summit from September 1st to 9th. And the selected artists will also be invited to join the Africa Creative Action Network, convened by Africans Rising, which Ansel will tell you more about soon. And in the meantime, we encourage you to share this call amongst your artist networks and join the Pan-African Pledge for all power to the people. And please, if you have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to put them in the chat. And for now, we will turn to Ansel Langwa, who is the Movement Building and Support Lead Officer at Africans Rising, which is a Pan-African movement committed to unity, justice, and peace and dignity. In this role, Ansel leads initiatives to strengthen grassroots organizing, amplify community struggles, and connect movements across the continent and the diaspora. Her work centers on fostering solidarity, building collective power, and supporting activists in advancing African liberation. Ansel will share more about Africans Rising and the African Creative Action Network that you can all be a part of. So I'll pass over to you now, Ansel.
Ansel?
Oh, sorry. All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry. I actually unmuted. I thought I was unmuted. All right. Hi. Thank you so much, Sible, for the introduction, and it's such a pleasure to be here. I don't know if I can share my screen quickly. I can do that. Let me see. Okay. So, all right. So I'm guessing you can see now. So I'll just share a little bit about Africans Rising and the ACAN, without, taking so much time. So, Africans Rising, began as a Africans Rising began as an African civil society center in October 2015 and was later launched as a Pan-African People's Movement. So in 2016 in Arusha, Tanzania, we had over 272 representatives from various sectors who met to form the movement and adopt what we call today the Kilimanjaro Declaration. So members who signed up, so if you look at the photo there, that's actually on the day that Africans Rising was founded, because African civil society leaders and activists saw that there's a need to have a people-owned movement, and thus led to the founding of Africans Rising. But apart from that, we also had another meeting in August of 2022, which is 5 years later, to review, the Kilimanjaro Declaration that members had signed, to ask members, do we still think that what is part of this Kilimanjaro Declaration represents what we stand for as a movement and as the people of Africa? And, this led to the adoption of the Kilimanjaro Declaration 2.0, which included a few, just a little changes. First, the full name for the movement was Africans Rising for Justice, Peace, and Dignity. But in 2022, when we were reviewing the Kilimanjaro Declaration and adopted Kilimanjaro Declaration 2.0, we mentioned one important thing there, and we added unity. So the full name for the movement now becomes Africans Rising for Unity, Justice, Peace, and Dignity. So these are some of the things. We have 8 pillars in our Kilimanjaro Declaration: civic space expansion, ethical governance, socioeconomic well-being and dignity, gender justice, ecological justice, reparative justice, actualizing African unity, fighting against racism, and modern-day slavery. And we're here because ecological justice is indeed one of the most important parts of the work that we do at Africans Rising. And Africans Rising, we have several values, from Pan-Africanism, solidarity, justice, peace, dignity, feminism, youth focus, economic justice, hope, electoral justice, courage, conviction, mutual respect. And for Africans Rising, our operational approaches and our activities and programs are in 3 broad categories. We have the movement building and support, where we do member recruitment, but also have our movement building, movement support program, where we have things like training and capacity building, rapid response support, awards and celebration, the Engendering African Social Movements program, movement exchanges, that direct action support, artistic activism again, which is a very important part of our work, and other forms of support. Under Pan-African mobilization and support, we have our annual African Liberation Week activities. We have solidarity missions. We have the Pan-African Solidarity Action Network, which is currently being put in place. And for advocacy and campaigns, we have Borderless Africa campaign, Economic Justice for All, and other joint campaigns like now All Power to the People campaign that we're doing in partnership with these amazing organizations as well. So, and just to talk about the structure of Africans Rising quickly, we have Africans Rising, like I mentioned, is people-owned movement. So what that means is that at the top of our structure of the hierarchy is the members collective, everyone who signs up to be a member of Africans Rising, and this is the highest decision making organ of the movement. Next, we have the coordinating collective. The coordinating collective serves as the board of the movement, and every 2 years we get to elect members. So members are nominated by members, and then there's a voting period, and actually those elected would represent all the members collective in the board and take decisions. And of course, the Pan-African Secretariat, where you have people like me who work for the movement. So currently, for our numbers, as of June 2025, we had 42,576 members. Total number of countries and territories is 164, and total number of African countries is 55. So I just wanted to start with this brief overview of what Africans Rising is, to give everyone who is joining the call and who has not heard about us before to have an understanding of what we do. But as I had mentioned, in one of the things that we do on the movement and building and support, we have the artistic activism. And this is where the artists come in. And we have what we call the African Creative Action Network. So this, the ACAN, as we call it, is a Pan-African network of artists, activists, and allies that is dedicated to using art as a tool for social justice, for community empowerment, and human rights. And it connects creatives across Africa and the diaspora. And our vision and mission is first to harness the power of creativity to inspire action, challenge injustice, and build connected communities. And the vision is an Africa where arts is central to movements for freedom, dignity, and equality. And so why would you, as an artist, want to join the ACAN? You'd be part of a continent-wide creative movement. You have access to collaborations, programs, and visibility. You shape how arts, freedom, and expression in Africa contribute to building a cultural future. And I'll end with this call to action, which is our excitement to be a great part of the All Power to the People project, which is, we said, is a powerful artivism collaboration between Africans Rising, the Africa Just Transition Network, and the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty Initiative. This project is calling on Pan-African and Afro-diasporic artists to envision a liberated, sustainable future beyond fossil fuels. And by joining the campaign, you become a part of the African Creative Action Network, which is a dynamic community of artists and activists that are using arts to drive climate justice and social transformation across Africa and the diaspora. So if you're ready to rise with us, we hope that you would be able to take part in this campaign and eventually get to join the African Creative Action Network. The idea for the African Creative Action Network is for it to serve as an independent arts collective in Africa. And we know that many people would be excited to be a part of the process that leads to this. So thank you all so much for listening. And I'm happy to continue to share more or answer any questions at any point. You can use the chat box or the Q&A, and I can answer questions. And happy to have all of you on board in this powerful project. Thank you very much, Seb.
Thank you so much, Ansel. It was really exciting to hear all about the African Creative Action Network you've created and how much it's mobilizing for social change across the continent. And we're now going to turn to Marina Agotimevo, who's the coordinator at the Africa Just Transition Network. Marina is a certified professional electrical engineer at the Ghana Institution of Engineering. She holds a master's in business administration. Marina has a demonstrated history of working in the renewable energy sector, particularly in solar. And she's an environmental activist, a renewable energy advocate, and is currently the coordinator of the Africa Just Transition Network, which is one of the organizations collaborating on All Power to the People campaign. She's also a climate and energy consultant and advisor, where she seeks to share her knowledge so as to help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And finally, she volunteers as the lead for the Ghana chapter of Council on Women in Energy and Environmental Leadership. Marina will share about the Africa Just Transition Network and the role of arts in the struggle for an energy sovereign and fossil-free Africa, and the need to infuse and incorporate art into our work and storytelling. So over to you, Marina.
Yeah, thank you, Sebla. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Let me
Yes,
just share my
can.
screen. Okay, perfect. Okay, so hello, everyone, once again, and welcome to the launch. So for today, I will just also similar to Ansel, I will just talk about AJTN just briefly, about us. So AJTN is a network made up of organizations across the continent. So far, we are in about 25 countries in the continent and have over 88 member organizations as part of the network. And what we are actually seeking to do is how do we phase out from the fossil industry to the renewable energy industry by in a just way? And what do we define as just transition for us as Africans? Our main aim is how do we work together with our grassroots organizations, bringing them together, supporting them and strengthening their work, and how we can also work together on different platforms. How do we mobilize each other and bring each other together? Basically, it's more of a movement building. Okay, so for today, I will try and talk slowly and then also be brief. I have this picture here. I don't know, but I just saw this picture yesterday. Someone shared this picture with me yesterday, and it was very inspiring. So I said I will share this with everyone here today. And this is a picture from Brazil, right? And if you look at it, if you zoom the picture, you look over there, there's someone, there are a lot of people holding the equipment for farming, and there's someone with a flute or like a pipe over there with a music instrument. And from the person from Brazil, how she explained it is how like music means a lot to them over there, like, and it's something that brings them together. Even on the field when they're campaigning and they're on the street protesting, it was one of the best things that brought them together. And this is a very big symbol for them as Brazilians. And come to think of it, I remembered as us as Africans as well. This is a very important thing for us. When you look at us campaigning and we are up on the streets and marching, the songs are the things that unite us. Music is a very powerful thing that through every region in Africa, it's like when you hear music, it's like everyone is just like, okay, something is happening. So then I just started thinking about it as well. But how have we infused music in our work as activists on the continent, in our work, in our struggle against energy injustice in the continent? And this is what we are actually seeking to achieve in this whole campaign. How do we get people who have the talent to also not just sing about other things like fashion, lifestyle, all these things that we see? How do we get music that really means a lot? Music that is driven by the people and by the communities that we live in, and music that focuses on the well-being of all of us in the continent. And so this is something that we seek to achieve in the whole campaign. The next thing is I will share about just our network, one of our members in our network, which is 350 G-Rock Africa, led by Portia. Portia is on the far left holding the Climate Emergency Day. And they have worked in some time now with some artists in Ghana who are very popular artists in Ghana that are revered and respected. And on every July 22nd, they mark the Climate Emergency Day, where they use the climate clock, and then they have an event and talk about how we can actually work together to combat the issues of climate in the continent. The main thing that I want to bring from this picture is how we can, as activists, also take advantage of the people that, because you see most of the young people in our continent, even not just young, everyone looks up to these artists. If there's an artist, if I ask you for musicians in your country right now who are very popular, you will mention so many of them. But if I ask you, what do you know them for? It's just the music mainly, or maybe some few things they do. But there are some artists that are actually now in tune with what we are doing as climate activists. And this is one of them. And Ochame Kwame is a very well-known and recognized climate ambassador now in the continent. Aside him, there's Rocky Dawuni, also from Ghana, and a few others that are also across the continent. We want to see how we can bring all these people together. How do we even get other musicians who are also interested or might be interested in our fight to be on board and help us to fight? And we believe with that, their voices are more powerful in a way because they're instrumental people. They are mentors to young people. They'll be able to make their voices like reach more people than we are reaching at the moment. So this is another thing that we are seeking to achieve in the campaign. And this is something that AJTN members are also doing in their countries on the ground so far. The last thing I'll talk about is basically how we need to incorporate art again, like in general in our work. There are a lot of great people that are doing artwork, amazing, beautiful artwork. These pictures you see here is also on my background as well, are from our own meeting as AJT and our convenings across the years. And during the meeting, instead of us to just write minutes, we do write minutes normally, but we also do write minutes in terms of artwork to inspire the members there. Because we feel like it's easy also, art communicates, it's easy to remember. When you see a picture, you keep it in your mind and you know what happened. It actually shows and tells the story better. So these are just a few things from our own meetings. And we believe that artists also need to understand they could also do this. I met an artist that came for our environmental justice school who didn't know that he could actually use, he's so good with art, but he didn't think he could use art to tell stories, like I said, like these kind of stories. When he saw these kind of pictures, he was inspired and said he would want to now try and do something linked to this. And it's even like a profession also for them to also get more funding and more income, sorry. So it's just interesting for us to see that there's that dynamics that we are leaving behind, but it's also being used by the fossil industry, unfortunately, and we haven't tapped into it to tell stories. They are making very interesting videos. You see adverts where they're changing lives of people with fossil fuels, and it's beautiful. It looks so good. Why are we not tapping into it? Why are we living it? We shouldn't be reactive. We need to be proactive in the process. So there's a need for us to now start designing our campaigns in the same way, using art and infusing art beautifully, because the talent is in the continent. We have so much talent and we need to utilize it. I'll end with this by saying that it's something that we are beginning. It's something we are starting, but it's not something that is not there. It's there already. The talent is there. The people are there. It's more about bringing them on board, how to help them to have that space and that platform to be able to showcase this talent, and how to also utilize our talents for the better good of all of us on the continent. So together, this is Rocky Dawini at COP28, I think, yes. And I'm hoping that we can all work together with people on the ground, with artists, talented people. Even I believe everyone has a talent. I always say this. So it doesn't matter how little it could be. Together, we can be able to achieve this. And so thanks to everyone that started this project, and looking forward to what it was going to bring about and what we'll achieve together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Marina. You're so inspiring. And it was really great to see the image starting from Brazil, because we also want to remind everyone that this is for Pan-African artists and also Afro-diasporic artists. So it doesn't only extend to the African continent, but amongst our diaspora, artists are welcome to make submissions and be part of this movement. And beautiful to see all the artwork you've already come up with as part of the Africa Just Transition Network. And we know these movements are already happening, and we really want to channel them together in all power to the people. So thank you so much, Marina, for reminding us just how important art is for our movements for justice. So we will now turn to the artist who will guide our session today, Pierre-Christophe Gamme, who is a conceptual artist, a researcher, and immersive storyteller whose work redefines the future by interweaving mythology, technology, and foresight. Trained in architecture at the École nationale supérieure des arts décoratifs in Paris and Central St. Martin's in London, his practice bridges spatial design, immersive media, and speculative world building. Drawing from his heritage spanning Cameroon, Chad, Egypt, and Congo, as well as the West African griot tradition, he transforms communal memory into interactive, participatory experiences, expanding how we engage with the past to shape alternative futures. As the founder of Toguna World, a pioneering digital lab and creative think tank, Pierre-Christophe explores how art, technology, and foresight methodologies can be harnessed to redefine global futures, creating new possibilities for our communities across geographies to imagine and actively shape alternative futures. His research and artistic practice are grounded in decolonial world building, immersive storytelling, and participatory design, expanding speculative thought beyond regional narratives to consider planetary futures, technological ethics, and cross-cultural storytelling. He is at the forefront of shaping discourse on future building, cultural sovereignty, and alternative knowledge systems, ensuring that the act of imagining futures becomes an inclusive collective endeavor. Thank you so much, Pierre, for being here. We are honored to have you with us, and over to you to please guide us in our session today.
Good afternoon to everyone. It is my pleasure to be part of the launch of this important initiative. So I'm not going to introduce myself because this was done by Sable, but I'm just going to give you a bit of context in regards to my practice and in regards to what we're going to be doing today together. So the work I've designed over the year is summarized through the concept of future dreaming ritual. And essentially, this is an experience that we are going to be participating together that is designed to help us imagine beyond self-limiting beliefs. In the context of this campaign on fossil fuel and beyond as well, when you think about better future, one of the struggles that we have is that it's very easy for us to identify the things that we don't like, but we struggle to identify the thing we like. And the thing, what is going to propel us to manifest, materialize the kind of future we desire is that dream vision. What as as Mentor Luther King would say, I've seen the mountaintop. So what does the mountaintop look like? What is that dream future look like? And that dream future is something that starts with every one of us. I'm gonna share with you part of a longer ritual, the future dreaming ritual, as part of the Sanctuary of Dream. For context as well, you'll be able to explore a part of the work that we're doing on togunaworld.com, which is an online digital platform. And I've been working for about a year in collaboration with African Rising, with Ansel, and the African Rising Network on investigation throughout the continent to identify our Africans' dream of the future. So in that process of collective dreaming. So this is going to be a part of this work that is going to be designed specifically for this conversation around nature, fossil fuel, and so forth, but it's very much rooted in a larger initiative. So welcome to the Sanctuary of Dream, a digital platform, a digital temple crafted to guide us on a journey of self-discovery and collective imagination. A space where we dream, not just for ourselves, but for our communities, our continent, and the earth. I was saying that some of you have started to share your name on the chat, so please feel free to continue to do so that we get a sense of who we are. We're quite a lot on the call today, so we'll be able to organize conversation in breakout rooms. I heard earlier that they will be structured around language. So the French speaking, we're able to go into a French speaking group and so forth. But the idea is to be able to have smaller groups so that you can be able to share ideas together, and then we'll come back in the main room, and we'll be able to share the highlights of what will come through this exercise. So before we start, I'm going to share with you a part of the Sanctuary of Dream, which is the foundation of this entire exercise. This is going to be a video that will run for about 17 minutes, 16, 17 minutes. So I'm going to let you watch it. And then after that, I will come back and we'll go through the exercise together. So I am going to share my screen. Just a second. I'm using a new computer. This is not my computer. So bear with me a minute. Okay, so. Do you see the screen? Yes. You see it, right?
Yes, we can see it.
Nice one. Okay, so I'm going to put it full screen and I'm going to run it until 17 minutes. Attends, let me start again. And you can hear as well? You cannot hear? Okay. Let me do that again.
No, I think you need to click on, it looks like
I
it's
have to,
muted.
yes.
Did you share sound? Yes.
Let me do it now. Share sound. Share. Okay. So you'll see the screen.
Okay. Okay now.
The secret to reality is that everything is just a dream. And it is only when dreams are seeded onto the infinite soil of our imagination that they can manifest into our world.
Before they materialize in the physical realm, ideas already exist. Although they cannot yet be seen, they exist in an alternate cosmic dimension, an honoric land of dreams, within which they form, vibrating and expanding in the amniotic liquid of human consciousness.
Besides nature and the visible and invisible laws of the cosmos, everything that exists around us was once an idea. The clothes we wear, the house we live in, the car we drive, to the very technological devices we're using right now to connect with one another. Everything that exists in our world was once an immaterial thought, which evolved and grew to become something we can touch, see, hear, smell, or feel. What we have been conditioned to perceive as a fixed and finite reality is nothing more than a sum of arbitrary conventions embedded through centuries within the fabric of our lives. There is no definitive truth. Reality is a moving sea whose waves follow the contours of our imagination.
The stories of angels and demons we tell ourselves shape our perception of reality, and it is through their lenses that we project ourselves into the world.
The inner reality creates the outer form. It is there, within the realm of our dreams, that enigmatic and mysterious land where the imagination flows boundless, that the world is created. Those who control and shape the stories we tell ourselves and the perception we have of the world own our present and potentially our future. In order to create the future, we first have to imagine it. If we want to carve our own future, we must invest in our ability to imagine and dream beyond the internalized limitations of our present condition.
In order to create the future, we first have to imagine it. If we want to carve our own future, we must invest in our ability to imagine and dream beyond the internalized limitation of our present condition.
The sanctuary of dreams is designed to act as an accelerator of the imagination. Its intended goal is to help us regain control of our individual story. By tapping into the power of our imagination to envision and experience what life could look like in the context of an ideal future. A future not based on commodities, but on feelings. not on what we want, but on how we want to feel for ourselves and others. A protopia shaped around our hopes and our dreams. As our eyes open and start distinguishing ghosts and demons through the darkness, let's orient our hearts and our minds towards the envisioning of a new dawn. A new sunrise filled in abundance with the healing and restorative light of our divine Creator. Let's manifest it beyond our fears and hesitation, and with a total and absolute trust in the fact that the future is ours.
Welcome to the Sanctuary of Dreams, a digital temple meticulously crafted to guide us on a profound journey of self-discovery and reconnection with the flourishing garden of our inner mind. We are about to embark on a future dreaming ritual designed to help us envision desirable visions of the future. The ritual draws wisdom from Ifa, an ancient spiritual tradition from West Africa. Both a science and a philosophy of life, Ifa provides a unique path to understanding the creation of our physical world. According to Ifa, everything that exists in our world stems from an original primordial energy, and the path to true satisfaction and fulfillment in life lies in recognizing 5 essential pillars. Semeji, which refers to the body, Kaogbe, the mind, Ubemeji, the spirit, Sameji, the art, and Yekumeji, the soul. Each of these pillars is concerned with the transformation of energy into matter, presenting 5 fundamental aspects of human life on Earth as co-creators of our material world. To begin, I will share Ile Ife, a short philosophical tale that explores the origin of human civilization. Following the tale, I will invite you to reflect on 5 questions, each aligned with one of the pillars of Ifa. This question will prompt you to contemplate: how will we hit, play, dream, pray, and love within the context of an ideal future? Ile-Ife, the primordial city. At the beginning of all things, there was love. Powerful and infinite, love radiated throughout the cosmos, filling the universe with its absolute wisdom. Humanity lived in Ile-Ife, the primordial city, a self-regulating biosphere. Ile-Ife provided bliss and contentment to all, enabling all life forms to live in a symbiotic connection with the source. Mahat, the cosmic harmony of the universe, was upheld by the elders a priestly caste composed of members of the first generation of humans to have inhabited the earth. Endowed with many spiritual abilities, the elders possessed the capacity to travel through spiritual dimensions and retain, store, and generate the divine light. The life force moving through all things, the divine light was the most powerful energy in the universe, strong enough to disrupt reality and manifest new worlds. Seeing how abundant life was on earth, lower spiritual entities called the humas started to envy and resent mankind. Living at the interstice of world, the original purpose was to facilitate the sharing of dreams and ideas among all living forms. Before they materialize into the physical realm, ideas and dreams coexist, fully formed in an alternate dimension, a fluid and liquid space called the mind sea. Although they cannot yet be seen, ideas already exist among us, vibrating and expanding in the amniotic liquid of our imagination. And all they need to form and manifest into our world is the psychic current of a group of individuals orienting the life force in the same direction. Using this knowledge, the humas devised a plan to seize control of Ileife, whispering lies into the mind sea, and managed to convince humanity that the Mahat was hostile and dangerous. Instead of embracing it as they used to, humans started to fear and reject it. Questioning the perfect order of the world, they built physical and mental walls to shield themselves from illusionary threats. The more walls they built, the more they lost the ability to see, hear, and communicate with the Mahat. Blind and deaf to the perfect wisdom of the world, they now lived in darkness, cut and removed from the source. Seizing this moment, the humas took full control of the minds, shifting their life force towards the creation of new worlds. Giving shapes and contours to their lies, they led humanity into centuries of war, chaos, and destruction. In its immensity, love revealed through prophecy that in the distant future, a pair of twins, a boy and a girl, born from the eldest tribe, will come into the world filled with divine light. Each of them will bear within half the wisdom of the universe. The knowledge of all that exists above, from the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the living creatures that populate the sky, as well as the knowledge of all that lies below, from the oceans, the earth, the plants, and all the creatures that lives on the ground and into the sea. Casting away the psychic cloud of confusion placed over our heart, they will guide humanity in rebuilding Ileife, thus restoring cosmic harmony to our world. The end will look like the beginning. So I'm back. Can you all see me, right? Okay.
We can see you.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
So The sanctuary of dream acts in two ways. The first thing that it does is to remind us that everything that exists in our world stems from our imagination. When you think about, but everything, the thing we like, as much as the thing we don't like, all of them stem from our imagination. There is nature, and as humans, we are essentially a part of nature. We are not separate from nature. We are part of our nature. And the way you should understand reality is that you can imagine that the world is a living organism, and humans are a part of that living organism. But beyond that, the system, the device, the techniques, the culture that we have created, all of them stem from human imagination. That's it. They don't come from nature. Initially, they started as arbitrary proposition that eventually became norm, customs, and that became embedded for the fabric of our lives to the point that we're no longer able to distinguish what is true and what is not. And a perfect example of that is money. Money is a social construct that has no reality beyond, and that has no intrinsic value beyond the value that we assign to it, right? And that's why now we hear talks about moving into digital currency, token, and so forth, because ultimately money is just a social construct. It's a proposition. And so when you want to imagine the future, what we must do, instead of having to constantly react to the thing that were first imagined, that eventually became norm, arbitrary norms, what we must do is to ask ourselves fundamentally, if I could design an ideal future, what would it look like? So the prophecy reminds us that we are lost our way by severing the sacred bond between ourselves and the earth. It guides us as vibration within a singular question: how can we reconnect with nature, not as something to exploit, but as a living force to align with? We remember, and through dreaming, we return to the source, to balance and possibilities. We are now entering the art of the ritual. I will offer you two reflection questions designed to help us reconsider our relationship with nature, not as a resource to extract. I repeat, not as a resource to extract, because the current social construct in which we are, this is a legacy of the Enlightenment, to summarize, this kind of materialistic science, let's say, has separated us from the spirit, has separated us from the soul, and has separated us from nature. And so we look at reality as machine, resources to extract from. And so as we reconsider what could an ideal society look like that will move beyond fossil fuel and that will align itself with nature in a meaningful way, this is what we need to shift from, right? And we have to really look at the fact that nature is fundamental to our well-being, but beyond that, not just as something to extract, but very much as an integral part of who we are as human beings. So not as something to exploit, not as a resource to extract, but as a living force to align with. So I'm gonna share with you two questions. For each of these questions, it is important that you do not think that you really shift your mindset in the way that you're going to try to consider these questions. I don't want you to overthink. I don't want you to try to think from a rational place. Remember that what we consider to be rational today, what we consider to be possible, plausible, a lot of these things started as arbitrary proposition. So there's no such thing as rational possible. The most important thing that I want you to do through this question is to really think from your core feelings, and really think about, for each of these scenarios, how would you like to feel in a meaningful, deeper way, right? So don't try to be rational. Don't try to overthink. Really try to think from the inside, and really to question your instinct and how you would like to feel based on these two questions. So I'm going to share the two questions first. I'm going to read them. I'm going to write them as well in the chat, so all of you will have the questions. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to organize you into smaller groups. So I'll leave that to the team to do that. I think some of this group will be organized around language, because we're quite a lot now. And within this group, you'll be able to have the conversation. So I think we're going to dedicate about 15 minutes, let's say 20 minutes for the breakout rooms. So each of the breakout rooms will have 20 minutes. During the breakout rooms, you'll go through the 2 questions. So this is going to be an open conversation between all of you. Before you share your vision, I think I'm going to read the question first. I'll leave you some time to be able to process the question, right? To be able to feel, how, to be able to feel a scenario for that. And then I will send you into the breakout room. And really the idea is that in the breakout room is for you to share your vision. There's no right, there's no wrong. The most important thing is that the answer that you're going to share, not the answer, because the answer means the vision that you will share is rooted in your core desires. That is the most important aspect with this scenario. So the first question is, what does nature mean to you? Beyond utility and beyond extraction. How do you relate to the living world, not as a resource to be consumed, but as a sacred intelligence to be remembered, restored, and rejoined? What emotions, memories, or ancestral stories shape your connection to earth, water, fire, air, and stone? So I repeat, what does nature mean to you beyond utility and beyond extraction? How do you relate to the living world, not as a resource to be consumed, but as a sacred intelligence to be remembered, restored, and rejoined? What emotions, memories, or ancestral stories shape your connection to earth, water, fire, air, and stone? So in this question, the first question is an invitation for you to really think in a really deeper way about your relationship to nature. And that can be through your own experience, and it can be as well rooted in traditions from your country, from your communities, from where you're from. So this is the first question. What is your individual relationship to nature? That's the first one. And I think this has to be the basis through which we're going to be able to design that optimum scenarios of ideal scenario beyond fossil fuel. The second question is the following. If we truly aligned our lives with nature, its rhythms, its wisdom, its balance, how will we live differently? What would you change what will we change in the way we move, build, feed, heal, and care? How would our energy system, economies, and relationship shift if rooted in reciprocity with the natural world? So I repeat, if we truly align our lives with nature, its rhythm, its wisdom, its balance, how would we live differently? What will change in the way we move, build, feed, heal, and care? And how would our energy system, economies, and relationship shift if rooted in reciprocity with the natural world? So I'm going to copy these 2 questions and I'm going to put them in our chat. Just 1 second. This is me struggling to use this this laptop. 1 second. Okay. So here are the 2 questions. So you see them in the chat. So the first one is about your relationship to nature, fundamental. And then the second one is about what would that future could look like. So the question of the beyond fossil fuel future, what could it look like based on your own desire and for you? Again, for each of the question, it's very much about you and your feeling, your core ethics, your core values. It's a very intimate, both of them are very intimate questions. So don't try to think rationally, don't try to think based on external model. You can take external model in terms of your design, but it has to make something that makes sense to you internally. It has to be something that feels natural, organic to you. You are the point of, you are the center for these questions. So I think we can do the breakout of the rooms. Seble, I don't know how you think we should do it. So I'm seeing a window. How should we go about it, Seble?
Thank you so much, Pierre. I'm so excited and inspired from watching the video and reflecting on the questions. I agree. We're many people, so it would be good to be in smaller groups. Zoe, should we make the breakouts with the different languages? English, French, Arabic, and Portuguese. And if there's not that many people in one group, maybe we can move them around. What do you think?
Yes, that sounds great. There should be an option at the bottom of everyone's screen to join a breakout room. So there's English, French, Portuguese, and Arabic. And I can also manually move people to breakout rooms if you have trouble joining it yourself. So if you want to, you can also put in the chat which language you want to be in which room, and I can assign you. So yeah, it should be at the bottom of your screen. There's the little icon that says breakout room.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Is that clear for everybody?
Yeah, you can say the language and have it as an open discussion.
Okay. Yeah, are we just doing the first question now or both?
Both questions. So we'll do both questions. We'll have 20 minutes for both of them. And then we'll have a conversation all together. So, okay, sorry for the, confusion. There was some time to be able to join the rooms, time from conversation, etc. But the good news is that we have more time to be able to discuss with each other. So I think this is what we're going to be doing now. Who wants to share the vision? Who wants to join and share the vision, the answer that came from the group and then had into, I think let's have a conversation in regards to the two questions. So when you share, you talk about the value and the relationship to nature. And then the second part is that you speak about the vision in regards to the future in a relationship with nature. Who wants to open the floor? Cadmus, please take the floor.
All right, thank you so much. It has been an interesting section. To me, I see nature as the entity of our existence, the totality of our existence, and as an African, existence actually falls back to our natural environment, because I see nature as the basis for our spirituality. I see nature as the place where we go to draw inspiration, a place where we go to draw innovations. To me, I draw innovations from nature. I draw inspirations from nature. And I link up with nature as a spiritual circle where I take my time out to reflect on the now, the tomorrow, and the future. So to me, nature is an in-depth structure I owe my existence as a person. And it's kind of sad to see that at the moment we have, because of greed of corporate societies and modernization and all that, we've actually left our beliefs and our culture system that is tied to nature. And to me, I think we need to start thinking of how and ways, innovative ways to retrace our steps back to nature. Because nature is key to everything we do to our existence as
important,
Africans.
In terms, the value are important, but I think share the vision. So based on this value, what does that future look like?
Yes, the future for me is focused on we should see ourselves as relatives with nature, and we should see ourselves that everything we do, we need to start tying back our existence, our energy systems, our supply systems to nature in terms of our food, going back to our organic farming system, using agroecology in our energy systems, going back to using natural systems from sunlight, water, and all that, because that has been our paths as a people in Africa. So I think that should be our vision, retracing our steps, because we are all relatives with nature. No matter how far we go, we'll always come back home. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. So in many ways, what you're talking about is nature as divine. So nature as a primordial, central force in our lives. And the whole society will be designed and organized according to that, according to our relationship to nature. But I think in many ways, our relationship to nature, but as well, our relationship to ourselves. Thank you for this. Anyone else wants to share the vision? There was a lot of interesting points that were shared as well in the English, the breakout room that I joined earlier. I'm happy to share them with the audience. So, but as well, feel free to jump and share more. Olawu, Adamu, please, you can jump. Yeah, you can go ahead. Ola, you want to share?
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Olalua from Nigeria. For me, man, reflecting of late, I've been able to like come into a situation where I have to reflect and have to like travel back into my memory as a child, just so that I can find strength in my current person right now, and with the dynamics of what's going on in the country and what the world is doing. One of the things I think, I remember I grew up with my grandmother at some point, and my biological construct as a human being should not make me fall sick. But for some weird reasons, Western medicine were in the solution. Tradomedical leaves and water, just soak it, were things that helped me like survive as a child. I remember she knows how to make like paps and food, like freshly made food and fufu. And like, I remember all those memories and how healthy I felt as a child. But growing up right now, it's even difficult for me right now. I'm suffering from like ulcer. I'm just using I'm using myself as a case study, yeah? I can't eat the normal food that I knew, like, not that is available right now. So I've been thinking, so nature, for me, nature is not supposed to be controlled. If we notice, nature, if we notice that when we like build our housing now, we cement everywhere, we cover the soil. But if you notice, when a tree grows into the ground, its roots will always find a way, whether you cover the surface or not. It will always, whether it's the road I start, if the nature or the tree wants to sprout, it sprouts. Nature is a combination of every expression that we are experiencing right now. Nature was here before we were created. Nature will be here after long gone after we've left. Nature will still remain when we're gone.
Well,
So
please
for
share
me,
your
I
vision.
feel like,
Yes.
what did you say?
Now I was going to say, share your vision. I think the values is very important, but share your vision as well.
Okay, so for me, my vision is like we adapt to nature as a people of Africa, where I think for me, just drawing from all our conversations so far, I feel like we're the closest set of people to nature. We still have lots of landmass as a people that we need to preserve, because there's nothing as pure as fresh air. Where like I was opportune to travel into a village sometime last week, and you could tell that pollution has not gotten to this part of the country, and it felt so healthy. Do you understand? Right now,
Yes.
we grew up in a way where you could drink water from the stream, but right now we've polluted and everything.
Yes.
Do you understand? Like, even like nature is rebelling towards us, trying to teach us something that we need to, and also we need to imagine our world for ourselves as Africans. We should stop adopting what is over there. This is not a racial construct. It's just that we need to understand ourselves. We need to change the world for ourselves, because we.
Thank you, Ola.
Yeah.
I want to share. I want to summarize as well what you just shared. Thank you very much. So
Thank you.
essentially, what you're talking about is that the modern lifestyle that we have, poisonous, right? I think we all know that the food we eat, you know, the soil is polluted, the water is polluted, the food we eat as well create all sorts of disease, and then we have to rely on medicine to be able to cure the disease that are generated by the environment in which we live today. And there
Yes.
is, and all of that is the same when someone was talking about in one of the breakout room about the pollution of the air. There's the pollution of the food, there's the pollution of the soil, there is a pollution of our life, which we all stem from the same issue, which is extractions, control, and this very distorted relationship with nature. Anyway, it's a whole thing around the economy, shareholders, profit, etc. But that's very much the foundation of it. And essentially what you're discussing is about, it echoes what Samosa was saying before, is about an environment in which we are aligned with nature, and we see nature as a guide and nature as a healer as well, so nature as medicine. Because in many ways, I think what you understand is that nature heals when you're in balance with it, right? You talk about the fact that when
Yeah.
trees sometimes are covered by cements, by concrete, then the trees, the roots find the ways, to break through and to still, take the nutrients that they need. Which for me as well, what is fascinating is when you look sometimes on plants, when they are in a dark environment and you find them moving around in the room to look for the
For the
light.
light, the source of light. Yes, actually,
This
yes.
tells you, and I don't know if some of you have seen this, but when you film, when you have cameras that film this process of the plant moving to find the light, you see the plant is alive. The plant is intelligent, it's conscious, and is actively seeking the food and nutrients that it needs. And in many ways, the system that we have designed as humans, or that have been imposed onto us, are against our own fundamental needs, right? Which is a perversion. And so this would be a system in which the nature would be in balance as well, like some of the people were saying with us. So yeah, this echoes what they were saying. Kim as well, I'm echoing what you were sharing before because I see you with the camera. Kim, you were talking about communities. I think someone as well in Uganda was talking about the fact that in many ways, when we talk about tradition, the fact that there is self-sustainable, off-grid ways of living that are still being practiced today in Africa. And when you talk about energy, that we're about using energy, solar energy, but in a way that would be local, in a way that would be communal, in a way that would be cooperative, to be able to cover our energy needs, but in line with the relationship with the environment in which we live. So that way about community, this way about local energy source that will be shared and made available to the community in a holistic way, and in a delocalized way, essentially a sense of nodes that operate individually, but I guess that can exist as well as network. What is interesting, obviously, this is a shorter version of the workshop. What all of you are saying very much echoes what we've done in a longer exercise, but it's very much echoes, it echoes in deep ways. And I think as well what you're talking about in regards to community is the fact that there is the nature in the environment around us, but as well there's the nature in the community. There's a nature in us and there's a nature in each of us. And so seeing community as well as an ecosystem, the same that we want to align ourselves with the nature, the environment as an ecosystem, we must understand as well that we are as well nature. And so, yeah. Who wants to jump? Crispin, go ahead. French or English, and I think I can translate if you do it in French. Crispin? Crispin, go ahead. So if Crispin is not hearing,
Voilà.
Pascal, you can...
Ok.
Okay,
Merci beaucoup, Pierre. Christophe, quand vous m'entendez très bien. Hein?
Je t'entends, and I will translate. It's in French, and
Yeah,
but it is translated.
you don't
but I
have
will-
to, yeah, you don't have to interpret because the interpretation is on.
Ok,
Ça va, ça marche?
donc vas-y.
Ah, ok, d'accord. Merci beaucoup. J'aimerais partager quand même nos points de vue dans différentes salles de discussion de francophones dont nous avons eu à parler, à discuter par rapport aux deux questions. Nous étions à quatre, dont il y avait le pays du Sénégal, le Togo, la RDC et le Maroc. Nous avons eu à partager quand même entre nous les différentes conceptions selon nos différents pays sur la nature en question. le Sénégal, quand même, ils ont essayé un peu de montrer quand même que la nature, c'est une parfaite communication. Donc, ils ont de libre respect envers la nature à travers des pratiques de communication, parce qu'il y a certaines coutumes et cultures au sein du Sénégal que ils essaient un peu d'utiliser un arbre appelé garap, dans lequel qui facilite quand même la médiation de communication entre les humains et les ancêtres qui ont décédé depuis longtemps, et entre les humains et les espèces, bien sûr, et entre les humains, même la nature en question. Donc, ça, c'est une considération de la nature comme un être vivant, et à travers lesquels on parle, on discute, et on doit sincèrement des normes et respect, et pour et un peu de continuer avec mutualité de communication. Pour le Togo, ils ont considéré quand même pour eux comme un écosystème à laquelle nous vivons est très essentiel à l'être humain. Donc, ce sont des choses, c'est tellement sacré, avec des communications liées aux ancêtres, et avec des respects, communication aussi avec des lots, parce que et ils ont quand même évoqué, tu as évoqué quand même certaines expériences, certains qui tirent, qui communiquent à travers l'eau. Avec ça, c'est déjà des grands, parce qu'ils communiquent à travers des lots et essaient un peu de parler régulièrement. Et c'est une manière, canal de communication qui est parfaite et qui réside toujours et qui donne quand même l'harmonie et qui tisse l'amour et le respect à ces tribus-là. C'est une expérience au niveau du Togo. Et, et pour nous, en RDC, vous savez, il y a des tribus, bien sûr, dans lesquelles si vous coupez quand même l'arbre, donc vous dessinez toute une généalogie de séries qui va à la contre de cela. Vous voyez un peu. Parce que l'arbre représente un nombre sacré, donc vous ne devez pas sincèrement couper l'arbre. Et si vous la coupez, vous avez tout un problème avec tout un tribu, tout un ensemble de tribus sur l'arbre. Voilà, vous voyez, ça c'est une tire aussi très 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 appréciable par rapport à la nature, et c'est une façon sincère de considérer l'air naturel. Mamadou, pour celui qui a parlé du Maroc, le Maroc aussi, ils ont leur façon, bien sûr, de respecter la nature, bien sûr, parce que à travers le pratique, à travers la prière, ils considèrent beaucoup plus avec la religion islamique, ils considèrent la nature aussi comme un sens de respect, un sens plus parfait, et le pratique aussi digne par rapport à nos comportements être humains, qui ont tendance quand même à la destruction de ces natures, ne doivent pas être prévus. Donc, nous, étant êtres humains vivants, nous sommes appelés à changer notre manière de voir les choses, manière de conserver ces natures pour éviter ces destructions de la pollution et toute forme qui la détruit sincèrement. Merci.
Yeah. I will jump back in English and I will give you a summary of everything that we shared. So essentially, Crispin was mostly speaking about the spiritual relationship with nature, and they were each recounting different cultural experiences from where they are from. So there was someone from Senegal that was speaking about the way that, so they speak with a tree. So there's a tree that is central within the community, specific community in Senegal. And through that tree, they speak with the ancestor, they speak with plant, but they speak as well with animals. And so there's this understanding that everything that is alive has a consciousness, and you know, and is alive. Because I think in our modern context, you know, I mean, we eat animals, but in the past as well, when animals were being killed, if you see in traditional communities, people will say offerings. They will be grateful. They will thank the animals. So there was a sense of fundamental respect to life, which we don't have in our modern context. Food is being killed, animals are killed sometimes in very barbaric circumstances, and it's presented in front of us. We don't have even a sense that these are, you know, conscious beings. And so I think in that tradition, there's a sense of everything is conscious and everything is alive. Then he spoke about another community that has this ritual of speaking with the invisible world by speaking with water. And so they speak again about the sacredness and the divine dimension of nature. He spoke about, in RDC, about the fact that in forests, when one come and cut a tree, that person, if he doesn't follow specific rituals, they have problems because the tree exists within community and exists within families. And so they have to respect protocols and ritual to be able to interfere within that family in particular. And then he spoke about someone in Morocco that was speaking about his spiritual tradition, Islam, and the way that there was codes that were enforced, that were embedded within the spiritual tradition to enable humans to live in harmony and with respect with the natural world. So all in all, it's very much speaking about the fundamental spiritual dimension of nature. And it makes me think about, as you were speaking about the tree, it makes me think about an encounter I had back in February. I was in Cameroon at the time, and I met with so these are the communities of people that are called pygmies, which are people that are very short naturally. They live in forest, so in the eastern part of Cameroon, and they have a very ancient tradition. This one was a traditional healer. And I was introduced to him because he healed a family member. That will be for another conversation, that this is true. This is not fake. I was deeply impressed, and we started having a conversation, and he started telling me the way he spoke to trees. And he has to go back to his community, has to speak to the tree, and trees have specific medical benefit. But these medical benefit are connected to energy, and is when you speak to them that the benefit can be activated. So it's very much aligned with what we're talking about, but the sense that the world that around us is alive, and we have to act accordingly. And by remembering that the world around us is alive, it centers us as well within our own life as well. Yeah. Ngozi, do you want to jump in? Then I will read as well some of the chat that have been shared. Ngozi?
Yeah. I want to say a little something about nature and how we used to, in regards to what the previous speaker said about respect for nature, about reverence. Back then, our ancestors, they used to, they used how a man or a woman interacts with nature and treats nature to determine the person's character, or to see how to segment the leadership qualities of a person, the way the person interacts with nature, the way the person treats nature, the ecosystem and all that. Our ancestors, they use that to check, segment and evaluate the leadership qualities of a person before handing over authority to such person. Then talking about how we used to pray. Nature for farmers, because back then it was mostly farming. I wasn't born then, but I was told stories from forefathers and grandmothers. They said once a man or a woman plants, and during planting season, they pray to nature. And it also served as a form of blessings. May nature bless you. May the rains come upon your farmland. May the sun shine it wonderful. They personalized some of these natural things, and it was a form of prayer, how they used to pray. Talking about food, even before they eat, they give thanks to nature, they give thanks to the sun, to the moon, to the rains. Thank you for favoring us. Thank you for coming when you are supposed to, and all that. They use it to reverence nature. Then talking about how they survive.
Very, very, very quickly. So we have a lot of people as well that have raised hands. I think when you share your vision, because all of the values very much align, so very much focus on sharing the scenario, not so much the principle, but the scenario. So share us your scenario for that future.
And sorry, yeah,
Okay,
just we have
for
to.
that.
wrap up in a few minutes. Just wanted to share.
How many minutes left you have?
We were supposed to finish now, but I know there's some people with their hands still up, so maybe we can go to them and then we can try
Okay,
to
okay.
close the vision.
So let's move to the next person. I see Garoes, you have your hands, your hand was raised. Do you want to go ahead? Thank you, Ngozi.
Thank you.
Ibatli Garoes, do you want to jump in? I see Etar raise the hand. If not, you want to raise? Anyone else?
No, I didn't raise my hand. I was just like saying, like,
Okay,
cool.
okay, nice. Okay, so because of time, I think we can conclude. Obviously, this gives you a sense that this is an introduction to the exercise. Normally, we go much more in depth. But I think what is important about what we've done now is very much about when we create space, to imagine beyond the current status quo, and we ask ourselves meaningful questions, this is what can come of, right? And in this process of envisioning a better scenario for our future in our relationship with nature and the living environment and nature. I think this is what needs to be at the forefront. So we need to be able to articulate that vision, because if we only operate from the place of we don't like, from a place of reaction, it will be very hard to be able to move towards the transformation, because each of the stories that have been shared from each of you are very powerful. I think what is very clear is that a lot of these stories align, echoes one another. But then when you take more time, you're able to go into the details and you're able to really look into the specificities and the nuance of these specific scenarios. So this is just the beginning of the campaign. This was the start. So I'm glad that we're able to do that for this moment. But I think the next few months are going to be an opportunity to go deeper. I think, as Seble mentioned at the beginning, there's an open call as well for artists to create works that can speak to this vision. So this is an opportunity as well to continue this exercise. There's going to be 2 presentations. There will be one in Addis in September, and then there will be another one in Brazil in November. And so yeah, so let's dream boldly and let's manifest the future we deserve. So thank you to Seble, thank you to Ansel, to the team for inviting me. It was a pleasure to run this exercise with you all. And I look forward to see what is going to come from this campaign in the months to come. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Pierre. We're truly blown away. That was my first time watching this visioning ritual, and I'm super inspired. And I think it's a helpful reminder, because so much of exactly what you said, so much of what we do is reactionary, it's oppositionary, and we forget so much to build the world that we want. So thank you for reminding us of that and guiding us through this ritual to imagine and dare and dream a different future for our continent. Also, thank you to Ansel from Africans Rising and Marina from the Africa Just Transition Network, who just had to drop off, for sharing with us today. Thank you also again to Diana Jaita, whose illustrations you saw throughout the campaign, who's really helped bring All Power to the People to life. I want to give a really huge thank you to Rika and Chris from our team, who built out the whole website for All Power to the People. And also thank you so much to our interpreters that we had today, Armel, Duna, Denise, and Natalia, for making this session available to so many more people in French and Arabic and Portuguese. And a huge thank you to Zoe for all your tech support and holding us together, guiding us through, and a massive thank you to all of us for joining us today. So as Pierre was saying, there's many different ways to be involved with All Power to the People. As an artist, you can join the pledge to become part of the Pan-African Artist Pledge for All Power to the People. The website is allpowertothepeople.art, and we'll put that in the chat, and please share with your networks. And for this call for artist submissions, as Pierre was saying, for the upcoming one that will be featured here in Addis Ababa from September 1st to 9th, to align with the Africa Climate Week and Climate Summit. You can also submit your art directly on the submissions page at allpowertothepeople.art. And then also you'll be invited to join the African Creative Action Network that Ansel was sharing about. So please also share the call for artist submissions with your networks, and please share your art with us. And if you have any questions, I'll also put the email in the chat. It's hello@allpowertothepeople.art. And we also encourage you to follow our Instagram page with updates, and that's at allpowertothepeople.art as well. So hopefully you've seen the pattern. Thank you so much for participating in this session. We'll share the recording with everyone who attended and signed up, and we'll also put it on the website, and we look forward to staying connected with you. We're excited to see the artistic creations that you come up with and to build our momentum and our collective power together for all power to the people. So thank you all so much.